All right, welcome to our presentation on the role of the government. This was made by India Duarte, Cielo Diaz, Stefan Rash, and myself, Agustin Scopazo. What we're going to be talking about is the first question: what is the degree of institutional development of this country, low, medium, or high? The second question is: which are the institutional weaknesses? The third one is what is the level of income and the level of inequality in income distribution? And the fourth one is there a correlation between the degree of institutional development and economic development? So for the first one, institutional development establishes conditions and attitudes for the development of an economy. They encourage economic opportunities in order to improve standard of living and economic development. And to start, in the US, the degree of institutional development is high, along with Canada, Germany, Iceland, and Australia. This is because their economies are more developed, they have more access to education, medical facilities, and infrastructure. Then we have China. Their degree is between high and medium because they have a strong economy and are the leading manufacturers in the world. But since they're a communist country, with a socialist market, they aren't at the highest peak. Um, con- Contrastingly, in India, the degree of institutional development is medium. They lack many resources and live in high levels of poverty. Colombia is also around in that list. They have plenty of natural resources and have developed as a nation over the years, but there is a high level of inequality. As in Argentina, they're still developing country, which makes them their degree low. However, they still have various benefits just like Colombia. Angola is another example of low degree. They have similar problems as both countries above.
All the economies are affected by weaknesses, and in this case, I will be focusing on our chosen countries. So, to start off, in the US, the economy suffers from high taxes, and the government doesn't spend much. And there's a lot of income inequality within the community. Canada, although is one of the most developed countries in the world, they're very dependent on the US market due to the energy exports that are then weakened by the inadequate supply of pipelines to the US, which has a great impact on the prices. Iceland's economy is small but very open, which leads to constraints in the monetary policy. And as for Germany, they suffer from low wage growth and inflation. This is because after the financial crisis, the workers accepted a low wage growth in return for job security. In Australia, their economy is very dependent on the Chinese market, and they have substantial household debt. China is one of the strongest economies, but also have high public debt. India faces many problems as a developing country, such as lack of infrastructure. Unemployment is also a really big problem, and they live in very harsh conditions. Colombia has been affected by structural unemployment, which led to inequality and poverty. And in Argentina, this is systemic instability affected the tax behavior, which then provides many uncertainties to the future of the economy. And lastly, we have Angola, which suffers from high unemployment and high social inequality, which leads to massive poverty. Therefore, 56% of the population.
The United States income is around 68,000 and it has increased over the year. The lower income class earns around 28,700, middle 86,800, and high class around 207,400. Iceland income equality percentage is 0.244, and of the lowest in the world. Iceland average income per household is 55 per year. Canada has a huge difference in income level between the highest and the lowest earners. 2.1% of the population earns under 5,000, while 15.7% of the population earns around over 110,000. Australia has a good annual average level of income, which is 116,500 180, and the level of income inequality are 20% of the households earn 48% of the income. China does not have an average income per household, but the GNA grew more than 10 what it was in the year 2000. It reaches 10,410 in 2019. In Germany, the richest 20% of the population earn almost 5 times the amount that the bottom 20% earns. The average income of households is around 38,300 per year. One of them earns differently salaries when performing the same job. India's biggest problem is inequality. The Gini coefficient standards, it's around 47.9. The 1% earns 21% of the country's total income. The top 10% own 56%, and the bottom 10% own 3.5%. Colombia's distribution salary is very conservative and is extreme inequality. 25% of the employees earn less than 8,000 yearly, 50% earn 13,800 or less, 70% earn 37,200 or less, and the remaining earns 65,280. Argentina's annual average income is around 3,200, the income of the richest people in Argentina. Add up to around $19.7 million, which is around 3.5% of the country's GDP. And finally, Angola's average household income is 4,800 yearly. It has a Gini index of 0.55, and 20% of the population that earns the most almost earns 59% of all income in the country.
And finally, is there correlation between the degree of institutional development and the economic development? So we believe there is. So we found this quote from Douglas North, who was an American economist. And he said, institutions are the rules of the game in a society, the humanly devised constraints that shape human interaction. They structure incentives in human exchange, whether political, social, or economic. And many of these institutions are very important because they control and shape things like protection of property rights, the financial markets, government bureaucracies, contract and contract enforcements, the rule of law, and fiscal policy. And as you can see, all of these things are very important in the economy and are correlated. Institutions also help to shape human habits, beliefs, norms, educations, and social interactions. So this creates a lot of things to be with the economy. An example, and a great example of this is India. In India, you are born with a caste. So the institution, which is the government, decides how you're going to live, in what social class you're going to live, and how much money can you earn. So at the end, institutions and economic development are correlated. Thank you.